All right, let's talk about Army of Darkness. Um, Definitely my favorite of the Evil Dead movies. And I guess on a personal note, Army of Darkness was the first movie that I really saw, and I saw it like 5 times before I actually saw it. Because when I was a kid growing up, it would always be on the Sci-Fi Channel, um, and I would always like just watch it, in the middle bits, or like I would never be watching it from the very beginning, and I would try to get my parents to rent it from Blockbuster back when people didn't use Netflix, and they wouldn't because it was rated R, and they were very protective about what kind of movies I watched, or at least that they rented, and so I guess that's sort of one of the reasons that it was near and dear to me. It was just this movie that I continuously was trying to watch because it interested me, but it took me a while to finally see it. The amazing thing about Army of Darkness is, in my opinion, just the scope of the movie, the grandness of it, the fact that there's a freaking castle, the huge sets, the skeleton army. Like, you guys, Jake, you poo-pooed that as being like, oh, it wasn't makeup, it was just skulls. And like that, even if that is just puppetry, that was hard, man. I mean, that I was impressed by the even if like it was seamless, I guess, for the time, in terms of the way that they meshed lots of little skeleton puppets with people in skeleton outfits, and the way they combined all that, and I just love this movie in that it doesn't take itself too seriously. It knows what it is, and it just like first 15 minutes of film, you've got Ash fighting a monster in this pit, and then he comes out and there's so many memorable lines like, "This is my boomstick." I mean, the thing about Army of Darkness is you actually develop the character of Ash. In the Evil Dead's 1 and 2, Ash is just this guy who, in my opinion, doesn't have much character at all. He's just Joe Schmo who bad shit is happening to and who gets possessed, and there's it's just this guy going insane. Whereas in Army of Darkness, he gets a lot more dialogue. You really get to know him as a character. He's just kind of this no nonsense. Um, I wouldn't describe him as an anti-hero, but like he certainly isn't a hero. He is bumbling in many ways. He has many faults. He doesn't remember the proper words to get the book off the thing. He doesn't really want to help these people. He just wants to get home. And so he sort of, I guess the development of his character is midway through the movie when he decides that he does want to help the people and kill the Deadites, opposed to just fulfilling his thing to get home. Uh, yeah, and I think that this that the Evil Dead movie has so many memorable lines compared to, sorry, Army of Darkness has memorable lines compared to Evil Dead. Either of the Evil Deads. Like, really the only line from Evil Dead that I would even remember is, I think, from Evil Dead 2, when the guy yells from the cellar, "Dead before dawn." Um, Other than that, like, it's just sort of the opening monologue of, we found this thing in the woods. Whereas for the Army of Darkness, there's the boomstick line, there's "I ain't that good," and I know a movie isn't good because it has memorable lines, but there's just the villain of Army of Darkness is Ash. Like, that's another thing that I like, is that he is created from Ash. Like the initial, there's that great scene with all of the little Ashes running around, from him breaking the mirror, and then they all come out of the mirror, which I think is a fantastic like special effect, where they all run around and swarm him, and they're all like just dicking with him, and uh, it's very like sadistic and jovial, and it's almost like a cartoon, except very, very gruesome at the same time. He's burning his face on the stove and everything, and then he eats one of them, and then he sprouts another him, And that's also a great scene where he's just walking down, and he's got this other head and they're like fighting, and you've got the really really crazy Bruce Campbell head and the normal one, and then they split, and then he just shoots the other guy. And I think there are two lines. There's either the one where evil Ash is like, "You're little goody two shoes," look, and then he gets shot, and then Ash goes, "I ain't that good." And then there's also, I think in the other edition of the movie, he shoots the guy and he says, "Good, bad, I'm the guy with the gun." And I don't really know which one of those lines I like better, but it certainly shows like that like the Deadites are making him out to be this good hero guy, and he really isn't. He's really a coward in many respects in terms of, if you look at him whenever he's on the battlefield until the final battle, until he has his coming of no, not coming, until he has his like moral turnaround where he decides to fight. He is a total coward, running away from the monster in the woods that like splits all of the branches, which is sort of the original monster from Evil Dead. He fights the little guys, but he's terrified of the books, the books that suck him in and eat him. He doesn't like the skeletons in the graveyard when he takes the book. I don't know. I just think that it's such a classic movie. Just the ridiculousness of it. The give me some sugar, baby. Like just over the top humor is fantastic. I mean, it really is. I'm trying to think what other notable things I would want to talk about. The two different endings. I definitely like the ending where he guns down the old lady in S Smart and has the metal hand, versus the ending where he takes too many drops and it just is in the future. Yeah, there's definitely that's definitely the better ending, simply because it's the sort of final battle, and then he gets this other random girl, and you're just like, what? Okay. Whereas I think the other ending was more on par with Evil Dead in terms of the feel, and I liked the costumes. I thought the costumes and special effects were actually better than the Evil Dead movies. I thought the Evil Dead movies had a lot of. I know you guys were talking about the hand moving on the raised floor. That was a really cool thing. They had a lot of blood and a lot of animatronics in the house, which were all very, very good. But I liked the almost Star Wars style monsters in that pit, and the evil Ash with the mask. I mean, you guys, you poo-pooed that as just being, oh, well, the rubber masks. I thought they were well made, and I thought they looked really cool. And I was okay with there not being as much liquid, blood everywhere. That wasn't the kind of movie that it was going for. It was a completely different direction, but it worked. I mean, it was a film that certainly lives in infamy. I don't think I've got anything else to say about it. So I'm going to drive to Chicago now. I will see you guys later.